But it is true that today there's better value in silver and especially in platinum. I would accumulate platinum here. In my opinion, it is another disaster because we have seen that government spending as a percentage of the economy, as it goes up, say, in 1910, no European country had government spending of more than 12% of GDP. Now it's across the board approximately 50% plus minus. Some countries 60%. But as government spending increases, the states move into a condition of essentially bankruptcy. But the government can postpone bankruptcy because they control the money printing process. But the money printing process has disadvantages in the sense that the purchasing power of paper money diminishes. In other words, money becomes worth less and less, and we can measure that against, say, cryptocurrencies, or especially over longer periods of time. We can measure 1 unit of paper money. How much gold does it buy? How much silver does it buy? And when the quantity of paper money keeps on increasing in order to buy an ounce of gold, then the purchasing power of paper money declines. And that is an obvious sign. So over the last, say, 50, 60 years, paper money has depreciated significantly. Initially, it didn't happen in Germany and in most European countries. But lately, say in the last 30 years, even in Germany, the paper money has lost its purchasing power. And in my view, Germany is making a huge mistake by increasing government spending. They should cut government spending, kick out all the Greens and socialists out of the government, and go back to an economy where people work, and if they don't work, they don't get any subsidies. No, to get out of the problem, you can also increase taxation, or you can cut government spending. But in a democracy, say a politician, he goes to the people and tell them, look, we are in a hole, we have to dig ourselves out. And in order to do that, we have to cut your pensions. Do you think this politician will get elected? No way. Or a politician who goes to people and say, we spend too much and have too little incomes. What we need to do is collect more taxes, and you all have to pay higher property taxes. You think this politician will get elected? No. This is the failing of democracies, that democracies are designed in such a way that people encourage the government to implement policies that lead to inflation. When the inflation occurs, and inflation I define here as the cost of living increases, when these cost of living increases are strong and high, the people don't like it, but they like the policies that led to these increases in cost of living. So in a democracy, it's very difficult through the voting system to get someone to do the right thing. It can be done. In Argentina, they've done it. But whether they will persist in their policies, that is another question. But
I had a chance.
So good. So far, so good. Well, I mean, you say it's been quiet around the BRICS. This is to some extent true, but some stocks in the BRICS and in emerging markets have done very well. So in the stock markets, actually, there have been some interesting moves. And I'd say in every discussion about investments, people always ask me about the stock market. The stock market nowadays is complex because on the one hand, you have the US, which is expensive by valuation measures. And on the other hand, you have Europe that is relatively inexpensive and emerging economies that is very cheap relative to the US, including China. Now, what could happen is that money, which is now allocated something like 60% to the US, flows out of the US and flows into Europe and emerging markets, and that these markets subsequently outperform the US, as they have actually over the last 6 to 9 months. So the European market, say you look at today, year to date, the US market, despite its recent recovery, is still down, but European markets are up strongly, especially measured in US dollars, because in US dollars, you have the appreciation of stocks and the appreciation of the currency, which is roughly 5% in the last 3 months. Yes, this is a question I'm always asking myself. Does gold tell us that we are in the midst of a huge monetary depreciation phase, and that people will want to have something that is like an anchor or something safe? The question also relates, is gold here expensive or is it inexpensive? Say, I'm a man, or you, or other wealthy people, they have, say, 100 million or 10 million or whatever. And then they own the bulk of their assets is, say, in real estate and in equity stocks, in their own businesses, in cash deposits, in art, and so forth and so on. How much of that, say, 100 or 10 million or 100 million should be in gold, if any at all? You understand? This is a question. I think most people have practically nothing in gold. The young people, for them, gold was too boring, and they bought cryptocurrencies. The old people, like my age, my generation, a lot of them, they sold their gold already because they're also smart, and they always talked about the correction already $1,000 ago. And so the ownership of gold is very small among the public. We also see it at the outstanding shares of ETFs, gold ETFs. It's tiny, tiny. And in my view, if I look at gold just as how much do people own gold? I mean, in my view, the world is grossly underweight gold, grossly. Now, if I look at gold and I compare it to the price of wheat, corn, soybeans, sugar, then gold is expensive. Because I can buy with 1 ounce of gold a lot of sugar. I can buy with 1 ounce of gold a lot of bread. So in that sense, gold as a monetary asset is very cheap. As a trading asset, is quite expensive. Yes, but silver is and platinum, I have to specify that, are cheap relative to gold. but they're not cheap relative to wheat and corn, and corn and soybeans and so forth. But it is true that today there's better value in silver and especially in platinum. I would accumulate platinum here. You know, in life, you sometimes have to do things that are not profitable, but are for emergencies. Like, I don't have health insurance, but if I go skiing or do high performance sports in Switzerland, I take out an insurance for 2 weeks or so. Well, we would have to sit down because it depends. Where do you live? What is your cash flow that comes in? How many girlfriends do you have? So cash going out and so forth and so on. So, you know, it's like you asking me on a program. I'm a medical doctor. Mark, if I come to your consultancy today, what kind of pills do you recommend me to take? And I'd say to you, don't take any pills. Take a beer and have a smoke and relax. And don't socialize with politicians because they will ruin your personality because they're all liars and cheaters. All of them.